Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Young Billionaire, Episode 80, The Truth.
Mom.
Lelaine said, looking at her mother's face. Tears filled her eyes.
Don't cry, Lelaine.
Isabel smiled faintly. She wanted to wipe away Lelaine's tears, but Lelaine was holding her hand.
Mom, don't move.
Lelaine knew how weak her mother was.
How do you feel? Are you in pain?
Her heart felt like it was being shredded. When she thought about how much pain her mother was enduring, Isabel only shook her head slightly.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. Jeff, you'll take good care of Lelaine, won't you?
Isabel asked as her gaze slowly turned to Jeff. Right from the beginning, she had seen the deep affection he had for Lelaine.
Mom.
Lelaine said, understanding the meaning of her mother's words.
Yes, Mrs. West, I will take good care of Lelaine.
Jeff said seriously as he looked into Isabel's eyes.
Good.
Isabel nodded her head in satisfaction. Her heart felt a little lighter. Jeff was like family, and he would look after her daughter.
Lelaine, there's something I need to tell you.
Isabel said, looking at her. Already, her vision was growing a little dim. Lelaine held her mother's hand tightly, her eyes filling with tears.
I'm not your biological mother.
Isabel said, softly as she looked into Lelaine's eyes. This was a secret that she had kept close to her heart for 20 years. Lelaine was taken aback.
Ma.
She asked.
I had planned to keep this secret for the rest of my life.
Isabel said, tears gathering in her eyes.
But I felt that I was lying to you, and you should know the truth.
No, Mom.
Lelaine mumbled in a daze. Isabel was the only mother she had ever known, and now she was saying that she wasn't Lelaine's biological mother. How could she accept that? Jeff, who was standing to the side, was also surprised when he heard Isabel's words. He looked at both women and realized that the two of them didn't resemble each other.
Silly child, you're as kind as your mother. That isn't good.
When Isabel looked at Lelaine's sweet face, she saw Lelaine's mother. Touched by the reminder, tears slid down her face.
No, Mom. You are my mother.
Lelaine insisted, growing anxious.
Sweet child, I'm not worthy to be your mother.
Isabel said gently.
Your mother is a dignified and elegant young lady, and I was just her young maid.
Lelaine shook her head slowly.
When my young mistress gave birth to you, her family placed her under house arrest and she wasn't allowed to go out.
Isabel said.
To prevent her from escaping, her family forced both of us to inject a poison. We could only survive if we kept consuming the antidote they gave us. Now the poison is flared up in me. The medicine only alleviates the illness for a while. This time it's too late.
Mom, don't say any more.
Lelaine begged, but she had already begun to accept that Isabel was not her mother.
If I stop now, I'm afraid that I won't get the chance to say it later.
Isabel said gently.
My mistress wanted to keep you safe and raise you herself. But then I learned that your family was looking for an opportunity to kill you while you are still a baby.
Isabel sighed.
I told my mistress straight away. She was thoroughly disappointed with her family and had believed that if she stayed at home, she would wait for a chance to make a move against them. But when we heard of their plans, we took you, knocked out the guard, and ran out of the house.
Lelaine was hanging on to every word.
We were very careful.
Isabel continued.
But we were still discovered by the family. In the end, we were forced onto a cliff. They surrounded us, and my mistress wanted to go back with them and then find an opportunity to escape later. But the leader of the search party wanted to kill my mistress. She realized that something was wrong, but it was already too late, and had their guns pointed right at us.
Oh.
Lelaine couldn't help but exclaim softly. Jeff's mouth also dropped open a little.
The men were smiling, so sure of their victory.
Isabel said.
But then my mistress suddenly hugged me, and we climbed down the cliff a little. I was so scared that I closed my eyes. Then, through the whistling wind, I heard her saying, Isabel, take the child. I looked up and saw my mistress giving me a beautiful smile. And then she turned around and threw herself off the cliff. By the time I realized her intention, it was too late.
Isabel started to cry.
I'm sorry, mistress.
Lelaine was dazed for a moment, as if she had also watched that miserable scene play out. Then Isabel began to cough violently.
Mom, put the oxygen mask back on.
Lelaine said, trying to put the mask on her.
Let me finish.
Isabel insisted, turning her face away. She knew how sick she was. The mask wasn't going to make a difference.
My poor young mistress.
Isabel sobbed.
And there you were, still looking at me innocently, not understanding what had happened at all. I heard someone saying that they were coming down to search for us. So, I didn't dare to stay there any longer. I carried you and left quickly.
A few days later, Isabel had carried Lelaine into a small town in the northeast and started a new life.
Mom,
Lelaine kept trying to put Isabel's oxygen mask back on, but Isabel wouldn't let her.
Lelaine,
She said.
take off the jade pendant I'm wearing.
Lelaine carefully removed the pendant from around Isabel's neck. The green part of the pendant faded to crystal white, and there were a few strands of red mixed in it at the end. It looked quite extraordinary. Isabel had been wearing it for as long as Lelaine could remember. She'd always wondered how a poor family like hers could have such a nice-looking pendant. She had asked Isabel, but she had never received an answer.
This pendant belonged to my mistress.
Isabel said, her voice growing weaker.
I think you should wear it. It belongs to you. Jeff?
Isabel said, focusing on him with great effort.
Yes?
He said seriously.
All these years, Lelaine has suffered just like me.
Isabel said, her voice growing feeble.
She's too kind, just like her mother, and I worry that she'll be bullied. Since she's chosen you, I hope that you'll treat her well and protect her from being hurt again.
Her eyelids were growing heavier and heavier, and she had to fight hard to keep them from closing. She had to hear Jeff's answer.
Okay.
He said solemnly.
I promise that as long as I'm around, I won't let Lelaine get hurt. No matter how much I'm injured, you can depend on me.
Thank you.
Isabel said.
I'm so relieved.
A faint smile appeared on her face. She no longer had the strength to move, and her breathing slowed.
stop talking.
Lelaine said.
Please put on the oxygen mask.
She was afraid Isabel would waste even more energy trying to speak.
I really miss my mistress.
Isabel said softly as she slowly closed her eyes.
I really miss her.
You need to rest.
Lelaine said. She picked up the oxygen mask and pulled it toward Isabel's face. But out of the corner of her eyes, she saw Isabel's hand slide down the bed. It lightly brushed Lelaine and then stopped moving. Lelaine looked at Isabel, who had her eyes closed, and felt a great sense of emptiness in her heart.
Mom,
She asked, her lip trembling. She desperately hoped that Isabel would respond like she always did, even just with a soft tone. But Isabel just lay there, quietly, motionless, her face devoid of life.
Mom?
She asked again, finally realizing what had happened, and a sorrowful wail escaped from her mouth. She hugged Isabel's body and pressed her head against her chest, crying sorrowfully. The doctors from the nearby hospital finally arrived and were stopped at the door by Kyle. They were no longer of any use. Lelaine's mind flashed through scenes of her life with her mother. She didn't care about her biological mother. She only knew that Isabel was the one who had known her and loved her the most. Isabel was the woman she was the closest to, and now she was gone forever, leaving Lelaine an orphan with nothing but memories. 5 minutes passed, then 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour. Lelaine continued to cry. Her mother's smiling face and voice were gone, and Lelaine couldn't control herself. Jeff stood silently beside her, listening to her heartbreaking sobs. His heart felt torn in two, but he knew that no one could help her. She needed to grieve.
Lelaine, please don't cry.
He thought.
You won't be lonely, not with me here. No matter what the future holds, I'll stay with you forever.
August 2023. Top super thanks purchasers. Thank you so much.